Have you ever wondered how a handful of colonies became a global superpower? The story of the United States is more than just dates and battles. It's a tale of rebellion, innovation, and a relentless pursuit of an idea. Let's dive into the incredible history of the USA. Our story begins long before 1776, with diverse Native American civilizations flourishing across the continent for thousands of years. From the cliff dwellings of the ancestral Pueblones to the vast trade networks of the Mississippian culture, these societies laid the original foundations of life in North America. Then, in 1492, a new chapter began. Christopher Columbus's voyage kicked off an era of European exploration and colonization. The Spanish, French, English, and Dutch all staked claims, bringing new technologies, new diseases, and new conflicts. Over the next 2 centuries, 13 English colonies took root along the Atlantic coast, each with its own unique character, from the Puritan society of Massachusetts to the agricultural economy of Virginia. Life in the colonies was tough, but it forged a new identity. Colonists began to see themselves not just as English subjects, but as Americans. This feeling intensified after the French and Indian War in the 1760s. Britain, deep in debt, decided to tax the colonies to pay for their defense. Acts like the Stamp Act and the Tea Act were met with outrage. No taxation without representation became the rallying cry. Tensions boiled over with events like the Boston Massacre and the Boston Tea Party. By 1775, the first shots of the American Revolution were fired at Lexington and Concord. On July 4, 1776, the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence, a revolutionary document penned by Thomas Jefferson that declared all men are created equal with certain unalienable rights. It was a bold, audacious claim that would echo through history. The war was a long and brutal struggle. Against all odds, George Washington's Continental Army, with crucial help from allies like France, managed to defeat the most powerful military in the world. The final major battle at Yorktown in 1781 sealed the victory. America was free, but winning the war was one thing. Building a nation was another. The first attempt at a government, the Articles of Confederation, was too weak. So in 1787, the nation's leaders gathered in Philadelphia to draft a new plan, the U.S. Constitution. This remarkable document created a federal system with 3 branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial, and a system of checks and balances to prevent any one part from becoming too powerful. It wasn't perfect, and the debate over slavery would haunt the nation for decades, but it provided a framework for a new kind of republic. The 19th century was an era of massive expansion. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803 doubled the size of the country overnight. The idea of manifest destiny fueled a westward push, leading pioneers across vast plains and rugged mountains. This expansion came at a great cost, displacing and devastating Native American tribes through forced removals like the Trail of Tears. The country grew with inventions like the cotton gin and the steam engine, fueling an industrial revolution in the North and entrenching the slave-based economy of the South. This deep division over slavery eventually tore the nation apart. In 1861, the Civil War erupted. It was the deadliest conflict in American history, pitting brother against brother. After 4 bloody years, the Union, led by President Abraham Lincoln, prevailed. The war ended slavery with the Emancipation Proclamation and the 13th Amendment, but the struggle for racial equality was far from over. The period of Reconstruction that followed was a complex and often violent attempt to rebuild the South and integrate 4 million newly freed African Americans into society. The late 19th and early 20th centuries, known as the Gilded Age and the Progressive Era, were a time of explosive industrial growth. Tycoons like Carnegie, Rockefeller, and Ford built vast empires in steel, oil, and automobiles. Immigrants poured into the country from all over the world, seeking a better life and working in the factories and cities that were rapidly growing. This era also saw major social and political reforms, including women's suffrage, labor rights, and regulations to curb the power of big business. America's role on the world stage grew dramatically in the 20th century. The nation entered World War I in 1917, helping to tip the balance in favor of the Allies. The Roaring Twenties followed, a decade of prosperity and cultural change. But it came to a crashing halt with the stock market crash of 1929 and the Great Depression. President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal programs aimed to combat the economic crisis and created a new social safety net. Then came World War II. The attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941 plunged the United States into the global conflict. The nation mobilized its industrial might, becoming the arsenal of democracy. The war ended with Allied victory, but also ushered in the nuclear age. The post-war era saw the rise of the Cold War, a decades-long ideological struggle between the United States and the Soviet Union. This rivalry played out in proxy wars, the space race, and a constant fear of nuclear annihilation. At home, the post-war years were a time of suburban growth and economic prosperity, but also a time of profound social change. The civil rights movement, led by figures like Martin Luther King Jr., fought to dismantle segregation and secure voting rights for African Americans through nonviolent protest. This powerful movement inspired other fights for equality, including the women's rights movement and the push for LGBTQ+ rights. The late 20th and early 21st centuries have been defined by the end of the Cold War, the rise of the digital age, and new global challenges. The September 11th attacks in 2001 ushered in an era focused on counterterrorism. The internet and social media have revolutionized how we communicate, work, and live, connecting the world in unprecedented ways, but also creating new divisions. The nation has faced economic recessions, ongoing debates about immigration and healthcare, and a renewed reckoning with its history of racial injustice. The history of the United States is a story that's still being written. It's a complex and often contradictory narrative of freedom and oppression, of unity and division, of incredible progress and profound challenges. It's the story of a nation constantly striving to live up to its founding ideals. From a small collection of colonies to a global superpower, the journey has been nothing short of extraordinary. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey through American history interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shaped our world. See you next time.